The great crystal hall of Nexus Prime gleamed under the light of 3 suns. Inside, beings from 47 different worlds sat around a massive circular table. Some had blue skin and 4 arms. Others looked like giant insects with silver wings. A few resembled walking trees with glowing eyes. They were the Galactic Council, and they ruled most of the known galaxy. Admiral Crix adjusted his 6-legged stance and looked at an old star map floating above the table. His green scales caught the light as he pointed to a small blue dot near the edge of the galaxy. What about this system here? Sol, I think it was called. There used to be a species there. Commander Vex flicked his long tail and made a sound like laughter. His cat-like face showed no interest. You mean the humans? They disappeared 300 years ago. Good thing, too. They were nothing but trouble. What happened to them? Asked a voice from across the table. The speaker was covered in thick fur and had large black eyes. Vex shrugged his shoulders. Who knows? They probably killed each other. That's what humans did best. Fight and destroy things. We're better off without them. The other council members nodded and went back to discussing trade routes. None of them thought about humans anymore. Why would they? The humans were gone, and the galaxy was peaceful now. But the humans were not gone. Far from the bright lights of Nexus Prime, in the dark, space between stars, a small ship drifted silently. The ship was old and patched with metal from a dozen different worlds. Its name was the Wanderer, and it carried 23 humans who had been hiding for 3 centuries. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge and watched the stars through a cracked window. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. His clothes were old but clean. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. They had learned long ago that making noise in space could get you killed. Captain, said a voice behind him. Jake turned to see Lieutenant Amy Chen walking toward him. She was younger than Jake, with short black hair and quick eyes. In her hand was a data pad that glowed softly in the dim light. What do you have for me, Amy? Jake asked. Good news for once. We hit the mining station on Gamma 7. No one was there, just like the scans showed. We got enough fuel cells to last us 2 months, maybe 3 if we're careful. Jake nodded. It was always about fuel and food and spare parts. That was life for humans now. Take what you could find, avoid the aliens, and keep moving. Any trouble? None. The station's been dead for 20 years. Looks like the owners just walked away and left everything. Amy paused and looked at her captain. Jake, we can't keep doing this forever. There are only a few thousand of us left in the entire galaxy. We need to find a real home. Jake had heard this before. Every human settlement talked about finding a new world where they could live in peace. But every world in the galaxy belonged to someone else now. Humans were not welcome anywhere. Maybe someday, Jake said quietly, but not today. Today we survive. On the other side of the galaxy, on a small moon that orbited a dying star, 300 humans had built a town. They called it New Texas, though none of them had ever seen the real Texas. That was back on Earth, and Earth was lost to them now. Mayor Ben Rodriguez stood in the town hall and looked at the faces of his people. They were farmers and miners, engineers and teachers. They had built a life here in the darkness, far from the trade routes where alien ships might find them. I've been talking to the other settlements, Ben said. His voice was strong, but his face showed the weight of his responsibility. The Genesis is still safe in the Horsehead Nebula. Captain Lisa Park says they have 2,000 people aboard, and they're doing well. The mining station at Kepler has 800 souls. There are dozens of smaller groups scattered across the rim territories. An old woman in the front row raised her hand. How many humans are left total? Ben was quiet for a moment. Maybe 50,000, maybe less. We don't know for sure. The room fell silent. 50,000 humans in a galaxy of trillions of beings. They were like dust in the wind, scattered and forgotten. But Dr. Lisa Martinez was not ready to give up. In her laboratory beneath New Texas, she worked with alien technology that the humans had salvaged over the years. She was trying to understand it, to make it work for humans instead of against them. Lisa had made a discovery. Human brains were different from alien brains in ways that no one had understood before. When she connected human neural pathways to alien computer systems, something amazing happened. The humans could think faster, react quicker, and understand complex patterns that confused even the smartest aliens. She called it the Integration Protocol. The first test subject was Sergeant Nick Johnson, a former soldier who had volunteered for the dangerous experiment. When Lisa activated the system, Nick's eyes went wide. He could see data streams in his mind, understand alien languages without translation, and process information at superhuman speed. "Doctor," Nick said, his voice filled with wonder, "I can see it all. The patterns, the connections. It's like the whole universe just opened up in my head." Lisa smiled. For the first time in 300 years, humans had found something they could do better than the aliens. But she kept her discovery secret. It was too dangerous to let word spread. Not yet. Meanwhile, Jake Morrison was intercepting radio signals from the galactic core. What he heard made his blood run cold. The signals were distress calls, panic broadcasts, and military orders. Something was attacking the heart of galactic civilization. Something that could destroy entire star systems. Amy Chen looked over his shoulder at the decoded messages. "Jake, look at this. The Xanthari lost their entire Fourth Fleet at Rigel. The Talon Federation is evacuating 3 worlds. What could do that?" Jake didn't answer, but he knew. The galaxy that had exiled humanity was facing something worse than war. It was facing extinction. And the only people who might be able to help were the ones they had forgotten long ago. In the darkness between stars, 50,000 humans waited and watched. They had been abandoned by the galaxy, left to die in the cold emptiness of space. But they had survived. They had grown stronger in the darkness. And now, as the galaxy burned around them, they faced a terrible choice. Would they help the worlds that had cast them out? Or would they watch from the shadows as everything burned? The silent years were ending. Soon, the galaxy would remember why humans had once been feared. The emergency alarms echoed through the crystal halls of Nexus Prime. Admiral Crix ran on his 6 legs toward the command center, his green scales dark with worry. Around him, other alien leaders hurried through the corridors. Fear filled the air like smoke. In the war room, Fleet Admiral Zorath of the Hegemony stood before a massive display screen. The tall, blue-skinned alien pointed at red dots that marked destroyed star systems. Each red dot had once been home to billions of living beings. Now they were empty space. "The situation is worse than we thought," Zorath said to the gathered commanders. "We engaged the enemy at Theta Centauri with our combined fleets. We lost 400 ships in 3 hours. Whatever these things are, they adapt to our weapons. Each time we hit them, they become stronger." Commander Vex slammed his fist on the table. "This is impossible. We have the most advanced technology in the galaxy. How can some unknown enemy defeat us so easily?" Zorath's face was grim. "Because they're not unknown. They're called the Devourers. They attacked our galaxy 1,000 years ago. Our ancestors barely survived that war. We thought they were gone forever." The room fell silent. Even the proudest alien warriors felt fear crawl up their spines. The Devourers were legend, nightmare stories told to frighten children. But now they were real, and they were destroying everything in their path. Far from the panic on Nexus Prime, Jake Morrison's ship drifted through the wreckage of Gamma Station. Where once a thriving industrial world had spun in space, now there was nothing, not even debris. The Devourers had consumed everything and left behind empty darkness. Amy Chen floated beside Jake in the ship's observation bay. Both humans wore spacesuits and stared out at the emptiness. Amy's voice came through the radio, quiet and shaken. "Jake, there were 2 billion people on that world yesterday. Factories, cities, spaceports, all gone. How do you make an entire planet disappear?" Jake's jaw was tight with anger. He had seen war before, back in the old days when humans fought the aliens. But this was different. This was not conquest or territory. This was complete erasure of life itself. We need to warn. The settlements, Jake said. If these devourers are moving through this sector, our people need to know. Back on New Texas, Dr. Lisa Martinez worked through the night in her underground laboratory. The integration protocol was showing remarkable results. Sergeant Nick Johnson sat in the testing chair, his mind connected to 3 different alien computer systems at once. I can see their fleet movements, Nick said, his enhanced brain processing data faster than any alien could manage. The devourers don't think like biological creatures. They move in mathematical patterns. Perfect efficiency, no waste, no emotion, no mercy. Lisa watched the data flow across her screens. Nick's brainwaves were unlike anything she had ever seen. The integration protocol was changing him, making him something more than human. But it was also making him more human in ways that mattered. Nick, can you predict where they'll strike next? Yes. Nick's eyes remained closed, but his voice was certain. They're heading for the core worlds, the most populated systems. They need mass to grow stronger. Dr. Martinez felt a chill run through her body. The core worlds were where the major alien civilizations lived. Trillions of beings called those systems home. If the devourers reached them, the galaxy would fall. Meanwhile, Amy Chen led a small reconnaissance team toward the border between human space and Council territory. Her job was to observe alien fleet movements and gather intelligence. What she found surprised her. The aliens were not working together. Even facing extinction, the different species hoarded their best technology and refused to share tactical information. The Zenthari kept their quantum torpedoes secret. The hegemony wouldn't reveal their shield frequencies. The Talon Federation guarded their ship designs like treasure. They're going to lose, Amy reported to Jake over encrypted radio. Not because they're weak, but because they won't trust each other. Each species thinks they're superior to the others even now. In the depths of space, other human groups were stirring. Commander Steve Blake commanded a small research vessel called the Pioneer. For years, he had studied old human military records from before the exile. Human tactics that the aliens had never seen. Steve's crew had watched every battle between the aliens and the devourers. They took notes, analyzed patterns, and developed new strategies. Humans thought about war differently than aliens did. Where aliens relied on superior technology and overwhelming force, humans used deception, adaptation, and pure stubborn refusal to give up. Captain Helen Torres led a small fleet of converted cargo ships near the outer rim. Her vessels looked like ordinary freighters, but hidden inside were weapons and fighters. Helen's people had been preparing for war for decades, not knowing who they might have to fight. When the Devourer crisis began, Helen saw an opportunity. Her ships moved closer to the main battle zones, recording everything and learning from each engagement. Her crews began to understand the enemy in ways the aliens never could. On an abandoned asteroid base that humans called Haven Point, representatives from 12 different human settlements gathered for a secret meeting. The asteroid spun slowly in empty space, far from any trade route or patrol zone. Jake Morrison sat at a metal table with 11 other humans. Each represented a different group of survivors scattered across the galaxy. The question before them was simple, but terrible. Captain Morrison spoke first. The aliens are losing. In 6 months, maybe less, the Devourers will control half the galaxy. In a year, everything we know will be gone. Colonel Dan Harper from the Fortress World of Iron. Rock crossed his arms. He was a hard man with scars from the old wars. So? They exiled us, Jake. Called us primitive savages. Tried to wipe us out. Why should we care if they all die? Because if the galaxy falls, we fall with it, Jake replied. There's nowhere left to run. Dr. Martinez stepped forward. She had brought Nick Johnson with her, and the enhanced soldier stood quietly beside her. I have something that might change everything. We've found a way to make humans superior to any species in the galaxy, not in technology, but in the ability to think and adapt. She explained the integration protocol and demonstrated Nick's abilities. The other humans watched in amazement as Nick interfaced with alien technology and processed information at incredible speed. But the most important voice came from an unexpected source. Katie Adams was only 12 years old, born on New Texas, and raised in exile. She had never seen Earth or known the old days. But she understood something the adults had forgotten. "My grandfather fought in the exile wars," Katie said in her clear, young voice. "He told me stories about what humans used to be like. He said we never left people behind, even people who were mean to us. He said that's what made us different from everyone else." The room fell quiet. The adults looked at the child and remembered who they used to be. Not just survivors hiding in the dark, but the species that had once been willing to fight for anyone who needed help. Jake Morrison stood up slowly, "All in favor of revealing ourselves to help fight the Devourers?" One by one, hands rose around the table. Even Colonel Harper finally raised his hand, though his face showed doubt. The decision was made. After 300 years of hiding, humanity would step back into the light, but they would not return as the same species that had been exiled. They had learned, adapted, and evolved in the darkness. The galaxy was about to remember why humans had once been the most feared warriors in known space, and this time they would use that fear to save everyone. The argument at Haven Point lasted for hours. Jake Morrison stood at one end of the metal table, his fists clenched as he spoke to the other human leaders. "Whatever they did to us, we're still part of this galaxy," Jake said. His voice was strong, but tired. "If it falls to the Devourers, we all die. Our children die. Everything we've built in the shadows dies with it." Colonel Dan Harper slammed his hand on the table. The sound echoed through the asteroid base like a gunshot. "They exiled us, Jake. Called us monsters and savages. Hunted us down like animals. My own brother died running from their fleets. Why should we save them now?" Around the table, other human leaders nodded. The pain of exile ran deep in every human heart. 300 years of hiding, scraping for survival, watching their children grow up as refugees. The aliens had done this to them, and now those same aliens were dying. Dr. Lisa Martinez stepped forward with her datapad in hand. Behind her, Sergeant Nick Johnson stood quietly, his enhanced eyes seeing patterns in the air that no one else could detect. "Because we're not the same humans they exiled," Lisa said. "Look at what we've become." She activated her display, showing brain scans and test results. "The integration protocol has changed us. We can think faster than any alien species. We can adapt to their technology in minutes instead of years. We can coordinate complex operations that would take them months to plan." Nick Johnson spoke for the first time, his voice calm and sure. "I can see their tactical networks in my mind. Every alien fleet, every defense station, every supply line. They're fighting like 47 different armies instead of one unified force. They're going to lose because they can't work together." Captain Helen Torres from the Rim Territories leaned forward. Her scarred face showed years of hard living in the outer darkness. "So what? Let them lose. We'll survive in the deep space like we always have." "No, we won't," said a small voice from the corner of the room. Everyone turned to look at Katie Adams, the 12-year-old girl from New Texas. She stood up slowly, her young face serious beyond her years. "My grandfather used to tell me stories about the old days," Katie said. "Before the exile, before the wars. He said humans were different from all the other species because we helped people who needed help. Even people who were mean to us. Even people who hurt us. He said that's what made us human." The room fell silent. The hardened survivors, the battle-scarred veterans, the brilliant scientists, all looked at the child who had never known anything but exile. "The aliens are dying," Katie continued. "Billions of them. Children like me, families, people who never did anything wrong. If we let them all die just because we're angry, then we're not human anymore. We're just another species that only cares about itself." Colonel Harper's jaw worked silently. His eyes were wet, though he tried to hide it. Finally, he spoke in a rough voice. "The kid's right. Damn it all, she's right." He looked around the table at the other leaders. "We help them, but we do it our way, on our terms." The vote was unanimous. Operation Thunderbolt would begin immediately. Across the galaxy, human ships, powered-up systems that had been dark for decades. Hidden bases activated long-range transmitters. Sleeper agents in alien territories prepared to reveal themselves. After 3 centuries of silence, humanity was about to speak with one voice. On Nexus Prime, Admiral Crix was studying tactical reports when his aide rushed into the command center. The young Zenthari's scales were pale with shock. "Admiral, you need to see this. We're detecting unknown ships on the edge of our sensor range, dozens of them all appearing at once." Crix looked at his tactical display and felt his blood turn cold. The ships were unlike anything in the alien databases. Their designs were crude but functional, built for war rather than elegance, and they were broadcasting on all frequencies. Jake Morrison's voice came through the speakers, calm and clear. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Terran vessel Wanderer. We represent the human survivors scattered throughout this galaxy. We understand you have a problem with the Devourers. We'd like to help." The command center fell silent. Every alien in the room stared at the speakers as if they had heard ghosts speaking from the grave. Admiral Crix found his voice first. "Impossible. Humans were extinct. We confirmed it centuries ago." Jake's response carried a hint of cold humor. "Reports of our death were greatly exaggerated, Admiral. We've been watching, learning, surviving. Now we're here to do what we do best." "And what is that?" Crix asked. "Win wars that everyone else has given up on." The first joint operations began within hours. Commander Steve Blake's research vessel Pioneer moved alongside a hegemony battle group approaching the contested Vega system. The aliens were skeptical until they saw human tactics in action. Blake's strategies were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Where they relied on massive firepower and superior technology, humans used deception and misdirection. Blake's ships would retreat, drawing Devourer forces into carefully planned ambushes. They would feint attacks on one flank while striking, from completely different angles. The results were immediate and devastating. The Devourers, who had adapted to alien tactics over multiple battles, were completely unprepared for human unpredictability. In the first engagement, Blake's combined human-alien fleet destroyed 3 Devourer cruisers while losing only 2 ships. Amy Chen led the most dramatic early victory. Her squadron of modified fighters working with alien pilots defended the agricultural world of Ceres Prime from a full Devourer invasion force. The integration protocol made Amy superhuman in combat. She could process tactical information faster than any alien commander, coordinate with dozens of pilots simultaneously, and adapt to changing battlefield conditions in real time. But more importantly, she could think like a human. When the Devourer ships adapted to standard attack patterns, Amy did something no alien would consider. She ordered her fighters to ram the enemy vessels. The alien pilots were horrified. Ramming attacks were suicide, wasteful, primitive. But Amy had calculated the odds. The human fighters were faster and more maneuverable. They could strike the Devourer's weak points and escape before the explosions reached them. It worked. Ceres Prime was saved, and the alien pilots learned something new about human courage. It wasn't reckless bravery. It was cold calculation combined with the willingness to risk everything for victory. Dr. Martinez worked with alien scientists for the first time in 3 centuries. Her integration protocol became the foundation for a new type of warfare. Enhanced. Humans could interface with alien technology, creating hybrid systems more powerful than anything either species could build alone. Sergeant Nick Johnson became the prototype for a new kind of soldier. Part human intuition, part alien technology, capable of processing battlefield information and making tactical decisions faster than any purely biological mind. The first major victory came at the Battle of Rigel 7, a massive Devourer hive, ship larger than anything previously encountered, threatened to break through to the core worlds. The combined human-alien fleet seemed hopelessly outmatched. But humans don't think about impossible odds the same way aliens do. Where aliens saw overwhelming enemy superiority, humans saw a target too big to miss. Jake Morrison coordinated the battle from his patched-up salvage ship. Amy Chen led the fighter squadrons. Commander Blake planned the tactical approach. Dr. Martinez and her enhanced soldiers provided real-time intelligence and countermeasures. The battle lasted 14 hours. When it ended, The Devourer hive ship was debris floating in space, and the core worlds were safe for another day. In the aftermath, as human and alien crews worked together to rescue survivors and repair damaged ships, something changed in the galaxy. The aliens began to remember what they had forgotten during 3 centuries of peace. Humans weren't just another species. They were the ones who fought when fighting seemed hopeless. They were the ones who found ways to win when everyone else was ready to surrender. Admiral Crix stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched human engineers working alongside his own crew. "Captain Morrison," he said over the communication system, "I owe you an apology. We should never have exiled your people." Jake's response was simple but carried the weight of 300 years of exile. "Apology accepted, Admiral. Now let's go save the galaxy." News of humanity's return spread through the galaxy like wildfire. On some worlds, aliens celebrated and called humans their saviors. On others, old fears awakened. The Talon Federation's High Command met in emergency session on their fortress, world of Castra Prime. General Voss, the Federation's supreme military leader, paced before a room full of worried officers. His cat-like face showed deep concern as he spoke. "We must not forget why humans were exiled in the first place. Yes, they're helping us now. But what happens when the Devourers are gone? Will they demand payment? Will they want our worlds?" "Commander," Vex nodded agreement. "Humans are born warriors. Violence is in their nature. Today they fight for us. Tomorrow they might fight against us." But not all aliens shared these fears. On the trading world of Nexus 7, alien merchants worked alongside human engineers to build new weapons. The humans taught them tricks of improvisation and adaptation that no alien school had ever considered. Captain Helen Torres commanded the largest human fleet since the Exile Wars. 17 different human settlements had sent ships to join her armada. Her flagship, the converted colony ship New Horizon, served as command center for 3,000 human vessels. Helen stood on her bridge and watched the tactical display showing her scattered fleet. Former cargo ships now carried weapons. Old mining vessels had been turned into fighters. Colony ships like her own now served as mobile bases for military operations. "Captain," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving messages from the other human commanders. Captain Morrison's group is ready. Commander Blake reports his tactical squadrons are in position. Dr. Martinez confirms her enhanced coordinators are standing by." Helen nodded. The target was the largest Devourer stronghold discovered so far, a massive construct in the spiral arm that seemed to be controlling Devourer movements across 3 sectors. Intelligence suggested it was some kind of central command node. "All ships, this is Torres, begin the attack." The integration protocol had become humanity's greatest weapon. Dr. Martinez had established field laboratories on dozens of liberated worlds, rapidly producing enhanced soldiers and coordinators. Each enhanced human could interface with both human and alien technology, creating hybrid systems that were more effective than anything either species could build alone. Sergeant Nick Johnson led a team of 20 enhanced soldiers aboard a captured Devourer vessel. Their mission was to learn how Devourer technology worked and find weaknesses that could be exploited. Nick's enhanced mind processed the alien systems faster than any computer. As he interfaced with the Devourer ship's controls, strange images filled his thoughts. He saw vast star maps, movement patterns, and something else that made his blood run cold. "Dr. Martinez," he reported over the communication link, "I'm seeing their overall strategy. The Devourers aren't just randomly destroying worlds. They're following a specific pattern. They're building something." Back on New Texas, Mayor Ben Rodriguez found himself running what had become humanity's unofficial capital. The hidden colony now hosted representatives from grateful alien species who wanted human help defending their worlds. Ben stood in the expanded town hall and looked at the strange gathering before him. Tall blue hegemony officers sat next to insect-like Talon diplomats. Crystal beings from the Outer Rim territories spoke with tree-like Zenthari commanders. All of them wanted the same thing: human tactical advice and military support. "We can help defend your worlds," Ben told them. "But we need something in return. Our people have been living in exile for 3 centuries. We need colonies, trade rights, and full recognition as equals in the galactic community. The alien representatives agreed quickly. When facing extinction, old prejudices seemed less important. Jake Morrison's salvage expertise became crucial as human teams began recovering and studying Devourer technology. His crew had become experts at taking apart alien machines and figuring out how they worked. Amy Chen led the intelligence-gathering efforts that revealed the terrifying truth. Deep in Devourer-controlled space, massive construction projects were reshaping entire solar systems. The Devourers were building something enormous, something that required specific, rare elements found only in certain worlds. "Jake," Amy reported from her reconnaissance ship, "I've identified the pattern. They're not just consuming worlds randomly. They need specific materials for whatever they're building. Quantum crystals from high-gravity worlds, exotic matter from neutron star systems, and—" She paused, her voice becoming tight with emotion. "And what?" "They need the quantum crystals from Earth's core. Jake, they're heading for our homeworld." The revelation hit the human community like a physical blow. Earth, the birth world they had been exiled from, was now under threat. Long-range scans confirmed Amy's fears. Devourer forces had reached the Sol system 6 months ago and were systematically stripping Earth of its unique resources. Colonel Dan Harper called an emergency meeting at his fortress world of Iron Rock. Human military leaders from across the galaxy gathered to plan what might be their final battle. "Earth is the key," Harper explained, pointing to a holographic display of the solar system. "Whatever the Devourers are building, they need Earth's quantum crystals to complete it. If we can stop them there, we might end this war." "Commander," Blake studied the tactical situation with his enhanced analytical abilities. "It won't be easy. They've had 6 months to fortify the system. Our scouts report at least 50 major Devourer constructs around Earth, plus hundreds of smaller vessels." Dr. Martinez added more disturbing news. "My enhanced teams have been analyzing captured Devourer technology. We think we know what they're building. It's called the Galaxy Forge. If completed, it would allow them to convert the entire galaxy into a single massive organism under their control." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just about saving Earth. It was about preventing the transformation of everything they knew into something alien and terrible. Katie, Adams, now 13, and one of the youngest people enhanced with the integration protocol, spoke up from her seat near the back of the room. Her young voice carried wisdom beyond her years. "We have to go back," she said simply. "Earth is where humanity began. If we let it die, we lose part of ourselves forever." Jake Morrison felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders. As the de facto leader of the human survivors, the decision was his to make. But he knew there was really no choice at all. "We're going home," he announced. "All of us, every human ship, every enhanced soldier, every pilot and engineer and scientist. We're going to take back Earth or die trying." The preparation took 3 weeks. Human fleets from across the galaxy converged on rally points near the Sol system. Alien allies provided support ships and supplies. The integration protocol laboratories worked around the clock to enhance more volunteers for the coming battle. Amy Chen coordinated with alien fleet commanders to plan the largest military operation in galactic history. Over 10,000 ships would participate in the assault, representing every major species in the galaxy. For the first time since the Exile Wars, humans and aliens would fight side by side as equals. Admiral Crix of the Zenthari served as alien fleet coordinator, working directly with Jake Morrison to plan the attack. "Captain Morrison," Crix said during one of their planning sessions, 300 years ago my people feared yours because of your capacity for violence. Now I understand we were looking at it wrong. You're not violent by nature. You're protective by nature. There's a difference." Jake nodded. "We fight when we have to, but we fight to protect, not to destroy." Dr. Martinez made final preparations for the battle that would determine the fate of the galaxy. Her enhanced soldiers were ready. The integration protocol had given humanity advantages no one had expected, but she knew that technology alone wouldn't win this war. "Nick," she said to Sergeant Johnson as he prepared his gear. "Remember what makes us human. It's not the enhancements or the technology, it's the fact that we never give up, even when everything seems hopeless." Nick smiled, his enhanced eyes seeing patterns of possibility that stretched into the future. "Don't worry, Doc, we're going to save everyone, even our enemies if we can manage it. That's what humans do." The fleet began its final approach to the Sol system. Earth hung in the distance like a wounded jewel, surrounded by devourer constructs that blotted out the stars. The planet that had given birth to humanity was dying, stripped of its resources to build a weapon that would destroy the galaxy. But humanity had come home at last, and they had brought friends. The final battle was about to begin. The combined fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system like a storm made of metal and fire. Over 10,000 ships stretched across space in the largest military formation the galaxy had ever seen. Human vessels flew alongside alien warships, their crews united by desperation and hope. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his old salvage ship Wanderer and stared at Earth through the main viewer. The blue world of his ancestors was surrounded by massive devourer constructs that looked like metal spiders spinning webs of destruction around the planet. Admiral Crix's voice came through the communication system from his flagship. "Captain Morrison, I must admit the irony of this moment. We return to the birth world of the species we once exiled, fighting alongside them as our greatest hope for survival." Jake's response carried 3 centuries of pain and forgiveness. "You were right to fear us, Admiral. We are dangerous, but we're dangerous to the right people." The battle began with a coordinated strike against the outer devourer defenses. Commander Steve Blake led the tactical assault, his human strategies confusing the adaptive enemy systems. Where the devourers expected direct confrontation, Blake's forces used hit-and-run attacks that appeared random, but followed careful patterns. Captain Helen Torres commanded the main battle line, her converted colony ships proving surprisingly effective against devourer cruisers. The aliens had built their vessels for elegance and efficiency. Humans had built theirs to survive and keep fighting even when everything went wrong. Amy Chen coordinated the fighter squadrons in a deadly dance around Earth's orbital platforms. Her integration protocol enhancements allowed her to process information from hundreds of sources simultaneously, directing both human and alien pilots in complex maneuvers that no single species could have managed alone. The devourers fought back with terrifying efficiency. Their adaptive shields grew stronger with each attack. Their weapons learned to counter human tactics within hours. But they had never faced an enemy quite like this combined force of human ingenuity and alien technology. Dr. Lisa Martinez and her team of enhanced soldiers fought their way aboard the largest devourer construct orbiting Earth. Their mission was to reach the central control system and learn exactly what the Galaxy Forge was supposed to do. Sergeant Nick Johnson led the assault team through corridors that pulsed with alien energy. His enhanced mind processed the devourer ship's layout faster than any computer. Behind him, 20 other enhanced humans moved with superhuman coordination. "Doc," Nick reported over the communication link, "I'm interfacing with their main computer now. The Galaxy Forge isn't what we expected." Miles away, Mayor Ben Rodriguez landed on Earth's surface with a strike team of New Texas volunteers. The planet's surface was scarred and broken, its cities reduced to mining sites where devourer machines extracted the quantum crystals from Earth's crust. Ben felt tears in his eyes as he looked at the ruins of New York City. This was humanity's birthplace, the world their ancestors had called home for thousands of years. Now it was being consumed by machines that cared nothing for history or beauty, or the dreams of those who had walked here before. "All teams, this is Rodriguez," he broadcast to the ground forces. "We're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for the memory of everyone who ever lived here. Make them count." In space, the battle reached its climax as the largest devourer, Hive ship, emerged from behind Earth's moon. The construct was the size of a small planet, bristling with weapons and defensive systems. It began broadcasting something that made every enhanced human in the fleet suddenly stop what they were doing. Nick Johnson's voice came across all frequencies, filled with shock and wonder. "Everyone stop shooting. I can hear them. The Devourers are trying to communicate." The fighting paused as Nick's enhanced mind translated the alien signals. What he discovered changed everything. "They're not invaders," Nick announced. "They're refugees. The Devourers are running from something in their home galaxy, something that destroyed their entire civilization. The Galaxy Forge isn't a weapon of conquest. It's an escape pod." Dr. Martinez processed this information with growing understanding. "They want to convert our galaxy into a mobile construct that can travel to uninhabited space. They're not trying to rule us. They're trying to save themselves by consuming everything we are." The revelation created a moment of terrible choice. The aliens wanted to destroy the Devourers and protect their worlds. The humans understood the desperation of a species facing extinction. But there had to be another way. Katie Adams, now enhanced, and serving as a communications specialist, made the breakthrough that changed everything. Her young mind, unencumbered by adult assumptions, saw patterns that others missed. "I can redirect the Galaxy Forge," she announced from her position aboard Dr. Martinez's research vessel. "Instead of converting our galaxy, we can use its power to open a massive hyperspace gateway. The Devourers can travel to the empty galaxies beyond the rim where they can exist without destroying other civilizations." The plan was audacious and dangerous. It required precise coordination between human tactical thinking and alien technology. But it offered something unprecedented, a way for everyone to survive. Jake Morrison made the final decision. "All ships, implement Katie's plan. We're going to save the Devourers and ourselves at the same time." The next 6 hours were the most complex military operation in galactic history. Human and alien ships worked together to modify the Galaxy Forge's targeting systems. Enhanced human soldiers interfaced with Devourer technology, while alien engineers provided the power necessary to open a gateway between galaxies. Amy Chen led fighter squadrons in protecting the work teams as they made dangerous modifications to the massive construct. Commander Blake coordinated defensive positions against Devourer ships that didn't understand what the humans were trying to accomplish. Dr. Martinez and Nick Johnson worked directly with Devourer technicians, their enhanced minds bridging the gap between 3 different technological systems. For the first time in galactic history, humans, aliens, and Devourers worked together toward a common goal. The moment of activation was terrifying and beautiful. The Galaxy Forge, instead of beginning the conversion of local space, opened a shimmering portal larger than a solar system. Through it, the surviving Devourers could see uninhabited galaxies where they could rebuild without threatening other life. As the last Devourer ship passed through the gateway, their leader sent a final message that Nick Johnson translated for the combined fleet. "They say thank you," Nick announced. "They say humans are the first species they've encountered that found a way to save everyone, even their enemies." 6 months later, the Galactic Council met in its restored chambers on Nexus Prime. But now the circular table included new seats for human representatives. Jake Morrison, wearing the formal robes of Terran ambassador, addressed the assembly. 300 years ago you exiled us because you feared our capacity for violence, Jake said. "You were right to fear us, but you were wrong about why. We're not dangerous because we love to fight. We're dangerous because we refuse to accept that any problem is truly unsolvable." Admiral Crix stood to respond. "Ambassador Morrison, on
behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally apologize for the exile of humanity. We offer full membership in the Council and colony rights throughout Council space." Amy Chen, now Admiral of the Integrated Terran Council Defense Fleet, watched
from the gallery as history was made. In her final log entry, she wrote the words that would define humanity's return to the galaxy. "They forgot us because they thought we were just another species of killers. They were wrong. We're the species that finds a way to save everyone, even our enemies, when everyone else has given up hope. That's why they feared us. That's why they'll never forget us again." Outside the council chambers, human ships prepared to depart for distant stars. No longer exiles or conquerors, they carried the thunder of hope wherever darkness threatened to fall. The galaxy had learned something important about the species it had tried to forget. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in the universe is someone who refuses to give up on saving everyone.